Us here at Oak Hill Missionary Baptist Church, to our folks on the YouTube and Facebook, and to those who are present with us here this morning. We thank you for coming our way and taking part in our service here today. We hope you receive something out of the service this morning that you can use in the week ahead, and we hope you'll be uplifted by it in some way. So we just encourage you to join in with us and enjoy the day with us. A few announcements this morning. Brother Sam is away today. So for those of you who are visiting, I am not the preacher. Don't ever take me for being the preacher. Brother Sam is away. He should be back, I think, this evening, so pray for him as he's traveling and recovering from his travels, and he should be back tonight. But I will be, at this time, this morning, bringing a resemblance of a message, so pray for me as I stand here and try to say something worth hearing. So anyway, that's coming up here shortly. This evening is singing and fellowship night, so we encourage you to come back for that. We sing until we get hoarse, and then we go next door or down the hill now, I guess, and have finger foods and visit and go home. So that's coming up this evening. Next Sunday morning, October the 6th, is Building Fund offering. We'll have a special plate something back for that if you'd like to give to the Building Fund. That money is used for special projects and big expenditures we have here at the church, and also our new fellowship hall, which we are about to finish up. So that's what the building fund is used for. Next Sunday night is business meeting night. We encourage you to come back for that and be a part of our business meeting so you can understand what all we're doing and why we're doing it, and we encourage you to be here for that. Saturday, October the 12th at 3 p.m. is our fall festival. We're going to use our new fellowship hall for this for the first time. So we invite you to come back for that. There'll be lots of food and fun and fellowship. So that's coming up on the 12th of October, which is just around the corner now. Friday, October the 18th at 6 p.m. and then Saturday, October the 19th at 10 a.m. the Arkansas State Gospel Singing and Gospel Light Baptist Church at the Gospel Light Baptist Church will take place. This is the group that Brother Travis and Sister Sue are affiliated with. If you like to hear good gospel music or like to sing some good gospel music, you're invited to attend that. And it's in Malvern, Arkansas. Names for our Thanksgiving baskets are needed by October the 20th. We're collecting names now to find out how many baskets we're going to need to prepare this year. If you know someone that's in need of a basket, be sure and give it to Sister Cindy Alt, and we will collect all that, and then starting probably the end of October, we'll put a sign-up sheet on the table back there so you can sign up to bring food to fill these baskets. So that's fast approaching. Thanksgiving is just around the corner already. So anyway, that's all the announcements I think we have this time. Anything else we need to know about? No? Gene?
Good morning, Oak Hill Missionary Baptist Church. I may be a little slow this morning. I just sat up here and killed a bunch of brain cells. Jeff's laughing at me. You know that when you hold in a sneeze that they say that you kill brain cells? Well, I had two of them. And I know both of them. Two brain cells? Yeah. So turn with us to page number 34. Page number 34. Kneel at the cross, Christ will meet you there. Come while he waits for you. Listen to his voice, leave with him your care, and begin life anew. page number 262. Page 262. There is a name I love to hear. I love to sing its worth. It sounds like music in my ear. The sweetest name on earth. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because he first loved me. It tells me of a Savior's love who died to set me free. It tells me of his precious blood, the sinner's perfect plea. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because he first loved me. It tells of one whose loving heart can feel my deepest woe, who in each sorrow bears a part that none can bear below. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because he first loved me. Page number 247. Page 247. Many times I have wondered about the sights of that city and all that my eyes shall behold. I will see all the wonders when I enter that city, there forever to be safe in his fold.
that was quick. We'll see if this is. Over the last year, I've heard my colleagues do their sermons when Brother Sam's been away, and they've done such an excellent job. I thought to myself, I'm going to have to step up my game if I'm going to stay in this game with them. They're so much better and did such a great job. Now, whether I achieve that goal, you'll, I'm sure, let me know later today. I have tried my hardest to do it, though. There's been a little talk going about whether it's better to have a lot of time or a little time to get these things prepared. All I know is I took the entire time. I don't know if it would have made any difference if I had 5 minutes or 5 days, and I'm glad I had 5 days, by the way. But I changed my mind about as many times as there was days, and I worked on it, and I'm still working on it, which you'll probably figure out here in a minute at this moment in time. So I don't know if there's an answer to that question, if it's better to have a lot of time or a short amount of time. This will not be a fire and brimstone sermon. I'm going to leave that to the professionals, and I'm not a professional in that regard. But I do hope this will be an informational sermon and maybe even inspirational. We'll see. Hopefully it will be. But my question I'm going to ask, first of all, this morning is, where would the world be? Say that 3 times fast. Where do you think the world would be if Jesus hadn't originated or started his church when he was here? If we never had a church established, where do you think the world would be today if it was even still here? Now, if you go back and look in history before Jesus was born, it was a very barbaric, bloody, brutal, every man for himself time. The Roman Empire was gobbling up anything and everything it came in contact with. It was just a very dangerous time to be alive, and your life expectancy was pretty short. Now you say, well, okay, it's not a whole lot different today than it was before Jesus came, then if you look at it from that perspective. Russia is gobbling up Ukraine, or trying to. Israel and Hezbollah are doing their best to destroy each other in the Middle East. China and Taiwan are always at it, and China would like to take over the world any day, too. There's not a whole lot of changes from before and after in that regard. The difference is, today, we have lighthouses all over the world shining a light, showing us where and how to go, and giving us hope that we will get there, that we did not have before. Now, if the churches weren't here today, where would you go to get spiritual guidance and enlightenment and comfort when you needed it? Would you go to the government? We seem to go there for everything else. Now, how would that work? You go into a government office and say, I need spiritual enlightenment, or I need comfort for something. Well, the first thing you're going to do is give you a bunch of forms to fill out. Then you got to figure out what department to go to. And then if you ever got to talk to someone, they'd say, we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. And I don't think that'd be a very fulfilling or satisfying way to get spiritual enlightenment, to find out about Jesus or to save your soul, you think? So if you didn't go there, would you go to your employer? Would you ask him for that? You might get a fringe benefit maybe added to your contract, some sort of spiritual guidance thing. Or they might add it on like an insurance and you had to pay for it, in which case it'd probably be too expensive to afford. Schools. Now maybe that would be someplace you could go for spiritual guidance. We currently have tasked our schools with teaching our kids manners and how to behave, and we see how well that's working out. But would you want, really, for some teacher at school to teach you or your children religion, not knowing what they believed or if they believed anything? I mean, Satan would be jumping up and down if we did that, saying, here's my chance. I can ruin the next generation just by going out and teaching all these falsehoods to these kids. And all he has to do is change a few things. You don't have to change the whole word, the whole language, just a few things. So what would they teach? Would they teach the Baptist way of doctrine? Bible study? Would they teach the Catholic? Would they teach the Mormon? Who would they teach? Or would they do a hodgepodge, which would mean it'd be ruined, and it wouldn't make any difference anyway. So school would not be a good place to go. The internet. Everyone goes to the internet for information today. And if you can wade through all the garbage, you might find something on the internet that might help you. But you got to know what you're looking for to find it, because there's so much misinformation and so much just out and out fake news and fake everything that, you'd have to understand what you were wanting before you even find it. And then when you did find it, I guaranteed you it would be camouflaged in so much ungodly stuff, you wouldn't know what you're looking at anyway. So other than the church, where else would you go for this kind of stuff? Where else would you go for spiritual guidance? Well, the only reason why any of these organizations have any kind of moral standing or any kind of spiritual understanding at all is because there are employees there that are good Christian people, and they bring their beliefs into it. Otherwise, these things are habitually opposite of that. None of these groups are morally or spiritually designed. They're not meant to be that way. And if it weren't for good Christian people working in them, they wouldn't be that way. And that's the only time you're going to find anything like that in this world anywhere. Now, I said, I was talking about lighthouses. That's not a building. That's not a big building with a big light on top of it. Just as the church is not the building we're sitting in now. The church is born-again believers, baptized, who have joined together in a local body. You are the church, not this building. Same way with a lighthouse. What I meant by a lighthouse, when you are saved, the light of Jesus envelops you and it lives in you. And then you, in turn, act as a lens, and by the way you live and by your witness, shine that light out for everyone else to see. So when you take, and in effect, you become a flashlight, for lack of a better word. But when you join a body, a church body, then all those flashlights come together and they become a searchlight. And that searchlight becomes a lighthouse. And we shine that light in this community today all around us for people to see. Now, the only thing that would limit the terrible way the world would be is man's imagination. The limits of our imagination, mankind's imagination, is the only thing that keeps things from getting worse than they are. I mean, mankind has a pretty bad imagination, so things would get pretty bad without a church here. But one day, there will be no church here. One day, God is going to rapture the church out, and all this is going to come to pass. And thank God we won't be there to see it, but I feel sorry for those who are. Now, my next question I want to ask you, what would you be doing today, at this very minute, if Oak Hill Church was not here? If for some reason we had gone out of business and locked our doors, what would you be doing today? I mean, would you be watching TV at home? Would you be still in bed asleep enjoying a lazy Sunday? Would you be out on the lake fishing or swimming or boating? And don't smirk at me because there's a lot of people doing that today, Now, or would you be maybe going to another church if we weren't here? That would be the optimum thing to do if we did it. But now what I'm going to ask you this is, you all are here because you want to be, right? There's some reason you're here. You've come to Oak Hill Church for some reason. It may be because you like our and appreciate our atmosphere here. You may like the fellowship we have here. You may enjoy the singing. You may agree with the teaching and the preaching, or any of all the above, but something drew you here, right? You're not being forced to come, I hope, you know. How easy would it be, do you think, to replace or duplicate or replicate the feeling that you have here someplace else? Is there someplace else you think you could go to get what you're getting here? And how long do you think it'd take you to find it? Now, if something happened to this church, if we closed, people driving by who never ever entered our doors would miss us. They'd want to know, well, I wonder where they went. They might not know anything about us, but they'd know we weren't here. And they might wonder, well, where'd we go, you know? We would be missed in this community. We have a good standing in this community. And if something happened to us, we would be missed, I do believe. Don't take Oak Hill Church for granted. Don't take God for granted and church in general for granted, but don't take Oak Hill Church for granted. Now, Oak Hill has been here 121 years. And so it's easy, since that's longer than any of our lifetimes, it's easy to expect that we will be here next week, next month, next year, throughout our lifetime. I mean, it's always been here. Why not? Why wouldn't we expect that? Our continuation in service on this hilltop has not always been a certainty. Times in our history, several times in our history, we have teetered on oblivion. We have stood on the edge and looked down into the abyss. Brother Leonard has said on several occasions of a story, has told us a story of a time when they were actually considering closing down the church due to lack of attendance and support from the community, and going on our separate ways, going out to other churches in the area. Now, I've never asked him when this was. I don't remember, I don't know what year this was. I suspect it was probably the 1960s or early 1970s. And by the way, that is not ancient history. That is in my lifetime, so that is recent history. For those of you who might want to differ with me on that. But if it hadn't been for a single member, long-term member here talking them out of it, we wouldn't be here this morning. Now, we have had a very interesting history throughout our tenure here. And in fact, we actually wrote a book about it. We published this book back when we were doing our 100th anniversary. And in it, Sister Mary Lou Beckwith, Sister Linda Bibbs, and others put together a timeline showing events, important events that have occurred here. And it's a wonderful trove of information, wonderful treasure to have. And I certainly appreciate them for doing it. Because a lot of this stuff you would have had to find by digging it out in the books back there, and a lot of those books are totally unreadable now, and finding that information has been really hard to do. The problem with this book is it was in 2003. We have done a lot of stuff since 2003. Now, we keep records of everything we do. We have written minutes back there in the office, and you can look at them anytime you want to. But those minutes are very one-dimensional. They don't explain why we did things. They just explain how that we did them, the nuts and bolts of it. They don't explain, they don't give the drama behind it, and sometimes there is. They don't give the emotion behind it, and sometimes there is. They don't give the nuances that was there to help us make those decisions. It's just, that's what happened. That's the way it is. The only way to get those nuances is to have living memory of what occurred. And that is a resource we are fast running out of up here. Time has taken its toll. And we need people to relate these things for us to know what actually happened. Now, I would like to do a little reminiscent, if you'll bear with me this morning, of some of these memories before I forget them. And maybe the things I say and remember, if it's out here in the collective group, will last a little longer than I'm going to last. Because one day you may need to know some of this stuff anyway. Now, did you know originally this was not Oak Hill Church? Originally we were called South Fork, and we were located on the highway at Ziegler Road. That church was started in 1840. That's a good 20 years before the Civil War. We came out of Old Kentucky Church, we think. The records are a little sparse, but we think we came out of Old Kentucky Church in Benton. Old Kentucky Church is one of, if not the oldest church in the state. And we were originated from them. Now, in 1903, we moved here to this hilltop. I don't know why. The records don't indicate that too much. Now, it could be because we had some land donated to us. All this was donated to build on, which we did. It could be because there was a cemetery across the street. It was at that time called Highland Graveyard. And it was always good to have a church next door to the cemetery. It made it real convenient to have the service here and then go across the street, as opposed to being a mile or two down the road. In 1903, it was a little bit problematic moving around like that. Now, you might say, well, that's a better location down there on the highway than it was up here. Well, in 1903, the highway was a wagon road, probably still. This was a wagon road still. And I've been told that this road used to go to Danville, whereas that one used to go to, as it goes to Benton. So it was a wash as far as which way was the best way to go. I'm sure both roads are still busy as they were in those days. So that one, I don't think that was a consideration. We changed our name. We went from South Fork to Oak Hill. I don't know why. It don't say that in the minutes, anywhere that I could find anyway. I suspect when we moved here, this hilltop was covered with oak trees. So I suspect that's why. We now have 3. So if we want our name to remain applicable, we're going to have to plant some trees pretty soon. But anyway, they did, at some point, change the name of the cemetery to Oak Hill to match up with us. Now, the first building that was built here was a frame building. It stood right where I'm at right now. In fact, the pulpit may have been right here for all I know, and it was built in 1903. The building next door was built in the early 1950s, and it was just the front part of it. A little later on, they tore down the original building, and they used the lumber from it to build the back part where the classrooms are today. So we still have a good portion of the original building in use today next door. It's just been repurposed. And that building over there was our church until we built this one in 2000, moved into it in the year 2000. The gym back and behind us was built in 2008. And by the way, the neighbor donated that land to us just out of the blue. We hadn't planned on doing anything, and all of a sudden he came up and said, "You want this land?" And we took it, and we built it, and we built the gym on it. The new fellowship hall we have been working on for the last couple of years is almost complete back here behind us. I would think by the end of the year we should be almost completely done with it, if not completely done with it. In 1958, Oak Hill Church extended an arm to establish Eastside Missionary Baptist Church in Hot Springs. Now, Eastside was built by, in big part, by Brother A.J. Simpson, which is Joyce's father, and then he pastored there for many, many years. It has sadly closed lately, just lately. I think, from what I've heard, mainly because of the decline in the neighborhood. The church didn't leave the neighborhood left the church. You do not judge the success of a church, though, by its longevity. even though I think it'd been there like 60 years. But you judge a church's success by the number of souls saved and lives changed. And in that measure, Eastside was a very successful church, I have no doubt. So there's a lot of information there that's in this book, by the way. That's just leading up to some things. That's just the kind of the more ancient history of things that a lot of people may not know about. Now, my family, this is information I know firsthand, my family joined in January of 1975. I was 1 month shy of my 16th birthday when we joined, and that is coming up on 50 years in January. And that is a sobering thought, I have to say. And for those of you who think 50 years is a long time, when you look back on it, it's the blink of an eye. Time travels at the speed of light. The sun comes up and it goes down, and the speed it comes up and goes down is the speed of light. Don't waste it, because you're going to be looking back on it just like I am and say, where did that go? Where did that day go? Where did that time go? We joined here. My father had retired out of the military. We bought a place at the bottom of the hill down here, and he could not see himself driving past the church to go to another church, especially if he thought he could be of use at that church. And he felt like Oak Hill was the church we needed to attend. Now, at 16, I probably would have liked to have been in a bigger church, you know. But I have no regrets. I met my wife here. I was married next door. I have no problems with the fact we stayed here. I mean, God bless me and my family dearly, and so I have no problem with the fact we didn't go to a bigger church. When we were here, to start with, there was about 8 or 9 families in attendance here, and these were not Jeff Buck or David Wood sized families. These were lesser sized families. The Beckers were probably the biggest family. They had 6 in their family, and it was more like 2 or 3. But when everyone was here, there'd probably be around 20 to 25 people in attendance. Offerings were proportional to the size amount of people here. If we had a $100 offering, we were doing really, really, really well. And we took up a lot of offerings. We took up an offering for Sunday school. We took up an offering for preaching. We took an offering for PTC at night. But when you get nickels, dimes, and quarters, it don't add up real fast. And that's pretty much the way it was. Today, we don't even take up an offering. We just put the plates at the back, and if you want to give to the church, we appreciate your gift, and we use it. Now, fortunately, our expenses were not too bad either. We gave the preacher an allowance. I won't say it was a salary. We gave the preacher an allowance. We paid the light bill. We bought propane to heat the building in the wintertime, and we paid for our insurance on the building. And that was pretty much our expenses. We supported Brother Victor Guzman. He was a missionary in Mexico. I think we started supporting him when he first went on the field, and we supported him right up until he retired. And he has since passed away, I believe, but we were supporting him his entire career. We supported the seminary in Little Rock, and we supported the Texarkana Baptist Children's Home. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a report showing our annual expenses up here, and if you were at that meeting, you know full well that our expenses have mushroomed out exponentially over what we had in 1975. Thankfully, our offerings have too, and we are able to meet all of our obligations. Today, we support 5 missions, not 3. And 2 of those missions are the Children's Home and the seminary, which we've supported for the last 50 years and further back. We give 20% of our general fund offerings every month. We divide it by 5, and each one of them gets 1/5 of that offering. The day we joined the church, we were still up front shaking hands with people. The preacher stood up and announced his resignation. Now, that was kind of a shock, to say the least. And I don't think it was our reputation preceding us, because we were moving from Quonset Point, Rhode Island, and they hadn't had any way to talk to anyone there about us, so I don't think it was us. But he packed up and moved out to the West Coast, and I don't think he was ever back. I don't think he ever came back. And in those days, the preacher's wife was also the pianist most of the time, or their daughter. We didn't have a pianist in the auditorium otherwise. So we were not only without a preacher, we were without a pianist. And I'm not sure which is worse. And we were a singing church. We would sing, if my memory serves me correctly, we would sing 3 songs before Sunday school. We'd sing 4 or 5 songs before preaching. We would have the invitation song after that. On Sunday nights, a lot of times we just gather around the piano and sing. We enjoyed singing. And to not have a piano player was very detrimental. I don't know how many of you have ever led a congregation without music backing you up, but it's kind of like herding chickens. Jay could tell you. Getting everyone to start together, stay together, and finish together, and on the same key, it may not be the right key, but on the same key is a pretty good challenge. And it was one that got dropped on me. Not because I was a good singer, but because I was loud. I could project. That's before these microphones were in here. I could project. So people heard me when I started, so they knew to start. And when I stopped, they stopped. Now, if I had to cough or something in the middle of the song, everything just stopped. I guess I had well trained. I don't know. But the thing is, we have been so blessed here over the last few years to have had piano players. And we've got 3 here today. Sister Linda Gale, Sister Loretta, and Sister Dixie have all done a wonderful work here, playing the piano for us from time to time, and that is such a wonderful blessing. Don't ever not appreciate that. I know for a fact how hard it is to do without one. Be sure you appreciate them and thank them for their service here at Oak Hill. I also would say that I was a song leader. We have a music director now. There's a big difference. A song leader can tell you the page number you're singing from, and he might can get you started. He knows what he's doing. You know, I just muddled through. And and I've known Gene for a long time. He has been a wonderful musician for years, I guess all his life. I don't know. I know in school he would sing and play for us there, and we are so blessed to have him here, sharing that blessing that he has with us and helping us with our song services and things that we do. We need to really appreciate these folks, because to be without them is painful. Very painful. And I'll tell you something else. One day that may happen. A lot of churches today have to pay someone to play the piano. People don't take lessons like they used to. There's not many amount in the world today as there used to be. Or you have to have recorded music. And the problem with recorded music is it's very unforgiving. Our pianists here played to us in the way we sing. The recordings, you sing the way it plays. And there's no argument there. That's the way it is. So we certainly appreciate our musicians here today. We hired a preacher 6 months after we lost the first one, after he left, in June of 1975. And his wife played the piano, so we were able to go back to music again. He was a young man. I suspect he was either just leaving seminary or he was maybe even still been in seminary. In fact, he wasn't long out of high school to get right down to it. He's probably about 20, 25 years old when he came. And he and his young wife came. She was expecting their first child. And they stayed 9 months. And then he got a calling to go to another church, a bigger and better church. And when I say better, I mean better pay. And, and I get that. He was needing to support his family, and I understand him leaving. But it was hard on the church when that happened. We hired another preacher a little bit after that, and his wife also played the piano. I think that must have been a prerequisite. I don't think we hired them if they didn't have someone in their family that could play the piano for us. But anyway, we hired him, and you know what? He stayed 9 months too. So we've gone through 3 preachers in the first year of our attendance here. Now, it's very difficult for a church to get traction when you have a revolving door behind the pulpit, or in this case, the piano in the pulpit. New people don't want to come to a church if they don't know who the preacher's going to be from Sunday to Sunday. Older members get very tired of it, and it is a very tiresome thing to have to go out and find a preacher to preach every Sunday morning when you don't have one. And I think it's gotten worse. I mean, Brother Sam can tell you how hard it is to fill the pulpit when he's not here. That's one reason why Gene and Jeff and I have been doing it, because it's too hard to find people to do it anymore. But it is very, very tiresome. And people quit. People leave after a while. Now, Oak Hill was fortunate because a lot of the members here were lifelong members. And they were well invested in the church, and they weren't going to give in and give up that easy. And a lot of them were related to each other as well, so there's a lot of family involved there. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, though, never have so many owed so much to so few, because if they hadn't stuck it out, once again, we probably wouldn't be here this morning. Those few members kept the lights on and the doors open, and that was why we still have the lights on and the doors open today. Now, shortly thereafter, and when I say shortly thereafter, it was probably 2 or 3 months thereafter, we hired another preacher, and now we're in December of 1976. Now, he stayed 5 years and 9 months. And that gave us time to stabilize and to add some new membership to the church. In February of 1977, a young lady joined, and she could play the piano. We were no longer dependent upon the preacher and his family to provide us music. That was a game changer. That was a wonderful thing. Now, she could only play about a dozen songs. She gave me a list, and we sung the ink off the paper of the book, singing those songs. But it was so much better to do it without a piano, we didn't care. And she would add a song ever so often to the list, and it was like a present at Christmas time. We would get that song out, and we'd sing it to pieces. And she stayed with us and was our pianist up until about 5 years ago when they moved away out of the area. So that was a good thing. That was probably one of the major events in this church. Next preacher came in September of 1982. He stayed 5 years. During his tenure, we were able to finish the building next door. Before that happened, the building next door, the back of it especially, was all plywood. Plywood floors, plywood ceiling, plywood walls. We had little stoves in each room to keep, that we would sit around in the wintertime. I don't know if it was keeping us warm or we were keeping it warm, but that was our heat. No air conditioning in the back. Brother Fred Bibbs brought a little air conditioning unit one time, put in the window, and it lasted a week. And someone else needed it, so they borrowed it from us. They have never returned it, by the way. We had a single light bulb in each classroom. Nothing was finished back there. Out front, we did have a furnace that kept the front warm, which is the same one we're still using today. But out front, we had 2 big window units, one on each side. And they did a good job, but if you had on a hairpiece of some kind, a wig or a toupee, you'd be playing volleyball between those 2 air conditioning units. They were a little loud too, I might add. Well, during this time, we were able to put in central air and heat. We were able to finish the back of the building, put in carpet, paneling, lighting, all the things that's pretty much in there today. and we made that building, we brought that building into the 20th century, basically is what we did. And it was because he was able to stay here 5 years that we were able to do that. The next preacher came in 1988, and that was Brother Hap. Now, Brother Hap stayed until 2012, 24 years. During his tenure, we were able to build this building. We were able to build the gym behind us. We purchased a bus, and we purchased a van. It takes time to get people to believe or understand that we need to build something. You cannot do it overnight. And building a new sanctuary, it took time to convince that we needed to do it. Then it takes time to motivate people to collect the money to do it. Then it takes more time to actually build it. So, you know, we got at least a 6 year period getting this building built. Same thing applied probably with the gym as well. Him being able to stay with us for 24 years, though, made all the world of a difference in getting this stuff done. It probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. If he'd been here just a few years, he probably wouldn't have been able to get it accomplished. Now, Brother Sam joined us in 2012. He's coming out on his 12th anniversary, I guess, coming up. And during his tenure, we remodeled the old building next door. And, you know, we call this the new building, the old building. This building's 24 years old. You know, all these buildings, the life expectancy of most of these buildings has been 50 years. So we're halfway through the life expectancy, if that's the rate that we're going by. But we call this the new building. But anyway, we remodeled that building, changed out, we painted everything, replaced the carpet, replaced the flooring in the kitchen and the bathroom area, replaced the bathrooms. We put air conditioning in the gym and heat in the gym. For 10 years, we didn't have anything in there. And it wasn't very usable when it was really, really cold or really, really hot. Today, we can use it any day of the week, and it was certainly needed. We have bought a new van under Brother Sam. And one thing I might mention, and of course, the biggest thing we've done under Brother Sam is build this new fellowship hall back here. And I want to mention, and I've said this several times, I want to mention it again. When we built the sanctuary, when we built the gym, we had to take out a loan to do that. Now, we had it paid off in record time, and that was a great blessing, and thank God for it. The new fellowship hall is fully paid for. We have never taken out a loan for it, and everything in it is done and paid for. That is nothing short of a miracle. And thank God for you folks, because you're the miracle that caused it. God blessed you with a good income that you could share, and then you shared it with the church and blessed the church with that. And because of that, we got a state-of-the-art fellowship hall back here. We thank God for you, and we thank God for his blessings. That was a wonderful thing. Now, I got a couple more things I want to mention that we did up here at the church over the years. In 1997, there was a elderly preacher and his wife living out here in the community. And he was living in a little camper trailer, basically a one-room camper. And word got out about that, and we found out about it. And we sent out letters to all the churches in the area asking if anyone could help find them a better place to live, give them a better life than what they were having. And we had a gentleman contact us, and he said he had a mobile home he would donate. He said it needed a little work, but he would be glad to give it to him. So we had it delivered here to the church. It parked right where this building's at right now. And we renovated this mobile home. It needed a lot of work inside. It was old. And we fixed it up. We put in new flooring. We put in new appliances. We put in new furniture, the whole 9 yards. And I don't think the church had to pay for any of that. I think every bit of it was donated. I think the whole community came together, and other churches in the area came together and did this. And we put this, we hauled this trailer out there and replaced the camper he had with this trailer, and they lived in it, I think, the rest of their lives. Now, if you drive out highway going toward town past Fountain Lake School, there above Cave Springs, if you look up on the hill, there's the remains of a trailer sitting up there. It has been gutted and stripped down, but that in its day was a palace for those folks. And that was the trailer we set up there for them. It's now just mainly the studs on the inside, but a little sad to think about. But we also one time was involved in the Toys for Tots campaign in town. Now, this is something I believe the Marine Corps does. I think they sponsor it. And Oak Hill, in that particular year, Oak Hill collected more toys than any other organization in the county. They wanted to come out and do a news article on us, to report on it, and we declined the offer, saying we didn't do it for publicity. And looking back on that, I kind of wish we had, because then we'd have a record of it. But that was something else that the church had done that I wanted to relay. We never let our size get in the way of completing our goals. Because you know what? It don't matter if there's 1 or 100. If God's there, it's going to get done. If you have the faith to do it and you make the effort, He will bless it. Now, if you don't make the effort, there's not much to bless. So we always never even considered whether or not we could do it. We just did it. And we relied on God to make sure it happened. Now, I'm telling you all this morning, like I said a minute ago, because members and memories are quickly fading away, and a lot of our church history will soon be lost to the passage of time. It's hard to know how far you have come if you can't look back to see where you started. If you don't know your past, it's hard to plan for the future and appreciate your present. Now, we have certainly come a long way with God's blessings, blessing us all the way since our beginning and since 1975, since I've been here. Now, I've asked you folks 2 questions this morning. What would the world look like without churches? What would your world look like without this church? So the next question is, where will Oak Hill Church be in the future? And that's up to us. You know, if we have received anything of value or gained any spiritual insights by attending here, then we are obligated to ensure the next generation has that same opportunity. No one else is going to do it. It's up to us to do that. Throughout our history, there's always been a remnant of core believers who kept the lights on and the doors open. And now it's our turn. So the question now is, are we up to that challenge? And that requires a lot of effort. If you want the Lord to bless us, it requires effort from each and every one of us to do it. Now, I've thought about this a lot over the years, and I remember all these folks that have gone on before us and the sacrifices they made and how well we have it here today, not just here at the church, but in our lives. And I think we should do our best to at least try to be like they were, at least try to accomplish the things they tried, and to continue making sure Oak Hill remains a viable church here on this hilltop from now on. Like I've been saying, and if you didn't get my meaning earlier, if you didn't understand the theme of this, it is don't take the church for granted. That is the theme of what I'm trying to say here this morning. So hopefully I got that through maybe a little bit. So anyway, that's my food for thought today. Does anyone have any comments they want to make? Any reminiscing you want to do?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When did y'all institute the youth group?
In what way?
What year? Like, did y'all, like y'all specifically on Wednesday had?
That was when we made the Wednesday night for specific youth things. Jeff was the one that instigated that early on when they came here. So what year do you think that would be, Jeff?
2006. We came in 2005, but we weren't, I don't think we developed the youth until maybe the next year.
So early 2000s. That's when we kind of dedicated Wednesday night to being for the youth and trying to, and that's, you know, we started having vans to drive and we started the food in that time. We built a kitchen. We didn't have a kitchen before that, you know, much before that. So we had to build the kitchen and all, and that's when we started using it for Wednesday night. Now, we had youth groups before then. I mean, we had, in fact, I was a youth director at one time early on. We didn't have any money, we couldn't go anywhere or do anything, but I was youth director. So, you know, of course, that's when I was young, you know, not today, but anyway. Anything else? I hope I didn't bore you. That was something I didn't want to do this morning, but I did want to give you some information I've been thinking about for a long time because it's, like I said, it's fast running out. So, anything else this morning? Yeah, and it's a little early, not real early, but a little early. So if you would, let's all stand together there and we'll close in prayer. Now we're having singing and fellowship tonight, correct, Brother Gene? Okay, so come back tonight for that. What's that? 5 o'clock. Come back for that. And if there's nothing else, let's go, Lord, in prayer. Our Father, we thank you for this day and all its many blessings. We thank you, Lord, for watching over and caring for us, not only today, but throughout our lifetimes and throughout our history. Thank you for all the wonderful blessings you give us each and every day of our lives. We ask you, Lord, now to forgive us of our many sins and acts of disobedience. We pray you go with us as we go to our homes now. Give us a safe trip there and a safe trip back tonight. And we pray you'll go with us in the week ahead. We ask you, Lord, to continue to bless and protect our government, our military, our first responders, all those who put their lives in harm's way every day. We pray your guidance and protection to be upon them daily. Go with all those on our prayer request list, those who are sick and afflicted in our church, those who are in need. We pray your guidance and protection and care will always be there for them. Forgive me now, Lord, once again, where I failed thee, and go with us as we go to our homes now.